Hello, my friends. I want to quickly do a small video here, and it's just a step-by-step application on building a Python web server, deploying it using Docker, GitHub Actions, Helm, and Kubernetes. So we're just going to use all these tools to build a very simple web server, and so we have some tools that we'll be using. Definitely, number one, we'll be using the Python. Okay, I'll just bring out my my VS Code. VS Code. Okay, so I just want to create the environment first. I'll just make a directory. Make a directory called. I'll just call it Python web server. Yes. So from there, I can add it to my workspace. Okay, it should be somewhere here on my home. Python, yeah, there we go. Add it. So the first thing I want us to make is a README. Oh, we'll just do. I'll just come here to make it better. New file. I'll call it readme.md. Okay. So we'll likely be updating this as we go, but today I'm going to be using Python. Just to develop where's my mouse? Okay. For developing the web server, then we will use Docker for containerizing the application. Then we will use the GitHub Action just to automate our CI/CD. What else are we gonna use? We'll use, of course, the Docker Hub. This will be the Docker image registry. Then we will use Helm to package the application. I'll say for packaging and deploying the application on Kubernetes. Then, of course, the Kubernetes itself, that's the cluster for orchestrating the containerized application. So I believe we understand all the functionalities of this 6 tools we'll be using. So I'm just going to take them one step at a time. So the first thing I want us to do is creating the simple website server. So just like I said, we're going to be using the Python. So I'm going to create a file. I'll name it domain.py. And that's it. So we all know Python is so robust. It's got a lot of packages that you could use. So the package we're going to be using today is the HTTP server. So I'll start by saying there's not going to be a lot of code in this. So just http.server. I'm going to be importing a simple request handler. You see, VS Code has the ability to help you do to complete the codes for you. So even if you forget the spelling, once you start typing, then everything comes up. Then what else? We'll be needing the HTTP server itself. So then the next thing you want to do is write a class, just a very simple class. My handler. Then I put this. Yeah. Don't forget your colon. Then I write my definition. Do get self. Do get self. It's trying to do so it's too smart. I'm just gonna go this way. Then I'll do a self dot send request, send response. I want to send a response of 200 to show everything is good. Then self dot send header, and want it to be content type, comma, and it's going to be an HTML. Okay. Oh. Okay. So the next thing is self dot and edits. Then self dot w file dot write. What do we want to write? So here you could write anything. I'm just gonna go with hello world. So this is what is gonna write to the browser. Simple hello world. Okay. So now this is our class, but we want to write another function. So this function will help us to run the server. So definition, the function, I'm gonna say server underscore class equal to Our server is HTTP server. Then the handler is gonna be, oh, I made a mistake, a typo. The handler class equal to, I'll just give it my handler. So, and that's the my handler that would define in this class. So we're using the class my handler. Then we want to display these on a port. So I'm going to pick a port equal 8000. Don't forget your column. Then we go to the server, not the server class, the server address is going to be this with the port we defined, which is port 8000. Come on. Okay, so I'll use HTTPD server class server underscore address comma, then the handler class. Alrighty. So the next thing we want to do is just to make sure everything is working. I'll just insert a print statement here saying that just to demonstrate the port that the server is working on that particular port. Starting server on port, yes, let's put the port in here, and I'm gonna put a dash to show, and that's it. The next thing is HTTPD dot server underscore forever. So this is going to continue as long as we run it. So that is done. That's the end of the function. So I can go and say, I can say if name equal main. Okay. Then what do? We do the run. So once then it triggers the run function, and yeah, and that's it. So we're gonna see if this is gonna work. I will just click on the run button and demonstrate. So we'll see. Oh, so it's telling me there is an error on line 17. So you want to make sure your code, the indentation, everything is fine. Okay. Looks good, but what could be the problem? So you have to check it out. We have a server class in here. We have a my handler. simple do get self response 200, and content type HTML, send end headers, self.w file.write. This is what we're writing. Okay, then we have def run server class http server handler underscore class my handler, which is the same as this. Port is 8000. Server address is, now I say the problem here. Okay, and the comma, then we don't need to have this here. So you gotta be careful with all this, you know, one single typo, everything is messed up. Okay, so I'll try it again. Forever. Server underscore forever. HTTPD. HTTP server class, server address, handler underscore class, print f string, starting server on port this, yeah, httpd dot serve. It shouldn't be a server, it should be serve forever. Okay, so I'm gonna run this and we'll see this time if it's gonna work. Yes. So we can see this is running. It started the server on port 8000. I'll open my browser. I'll type on localhost. And we said the port is 8000. And now you see, hello world. So this is working. Our simple Python web server is working perfectly well. So the next thing we want to do is turn this code into a container. Okay, so I'll just minimize this. Make sure my Xcode is back on. Then the next thing I want to do is to write a Docker file. Docker file. Code is from base image. So what is going to be a base image for Python? So we'll just go to the Docker Hub, break out my browser. So search for Docker Hub. So from Docker Hub, from the main page, from Docker Hub main page, or from anywhere here, I could just type in Python. Click on Python. This is the Docker official image. So we've got different tags. So we could use any of this tag, but I'm just gonna go to 3. I'll use this 3.11.slim. I'm just gonna copy it, then to my VS Code. So I'm gonna paste it here. Make sure you copy properly because there could be some spaces after the slim. Then you want to use the right keyword, Python, with the colon. So now our base image is python.11.slim. So the next thing you want to do is set the working directory. We want it to be app. So that is where we're going to be copying everything to in our container. So the next thing you want to do is copy. Copy. So it says the source destination. So where is our source destination? So I'm copying everything. That is the dot into app. So the current directory, all the contents, we're gonna copy it into the container folder called app. So the next thing I want to do is to expose the application to its port. I'm giving it a port 8000. You can always choose, make sure there's no conflict with the port you're choosing. Then the command. So the command we're using Python. It's going to be a comma. And what do we want to run? We want to run the main.py. Main.py. So this is pretty much it. How many lines? Just 5 lines. Simple. Okay, so we want to make sure the GitHub action is going to do the build and everything for us. So on the Python-web server, I'm going to create a directory, a folder. Then I'll call it .github. Then another inside the GitHub folder, I'll have the workflows folder. Then in the workflows, I want to have my I could give it any name though. I could call it the docker-publish.yaml, because this is what is going to help us to run the whole process, you know. So I'll just say I'll create a file here, new file. I'll call it docker-publish.yaml. So what do we have in there? I'll start with giving it a name. And I call it the Docker image CI. You could just give it. Okay. So the next thing is on. When does it run? When we do push. Be careful about the tabs, using tab or using space bar. So the one you're convenient with. Push and typos. Branches. It's gonna be on the main. -main. So the main branch is gonna trigger the workflow when you push to the main branch. Okay, the next is gonna be pull request, pull_request. And the branches. Okay, and it's still going to be the main dash main. So this is going to trigger the workflow on pull request to the main branch. Okay, let's go on to the job. Jobs because we got a lot of them. We'll do build dash and push. Okay, we'll do runs dash on. We run it on Ubuntu, the latest. Okay, then what are the steps? Okay, it's gonna be a list name. The first thing we want to do is check out the code, and it's gonna use the native actions checkout at version 3. The next thing on the list we want to do is set. We want to set up the Docker, the plugins, all the things we'll be needing to do the build, the engine, build out X. Then it's going to be using Docker / setup build X. All these are contained in the documentation, so it's not something you can always consult the documentation and just copy and paste it in. So, okay, set up Docker build X. Then the Docker setup, I want to make sure all the spellings are good. Okay, so let's do the next one. Oh, now I see. You can see the color change here. This is name. It should be blue. I've seen what it is still orange. I have to remove one of the colon. Okay, now it's good. Okay, let's make another list of things we're doing. The next thing is we want to log into Docker Hub. Log in to Docker Hub. Okay, what are we gonna use? Uses Docker /login that action at v2. Okay, but we need our credentials. So with what are you gonna use? We're gonna use our username with username. So this username and the password, the credentials, will be set in the GitHub repo that we're gonna be provided later on. So the username is gonna be $, then with double braces, then we'll do secrets dot docker, capital letters, docker underscore username. Okay, then we'll do the same for the password. password. Okay. Secrets. Oh, copy, small letter. Secrets dot docker underscore password. Okay, so that's the next. So what's the next thing we're gonna do now after the logging in? So once you log in, you want to make sure you build. So we'll do dash name. Oh, make sure there's a space after the dash. Okay, and it's gonna be build and push. Build and push Docker image. Alrighty. Yeah. So what is it gonna use? Uses. Uses. It's gonna use Docker slash build dash push dash action version 5 with context. Okay, put a dot, push. Okay, make it true. Put on a tag. Okay, and use the username and the name you wanna it to be packaged as on the Docker Hub. So I'm gonna say secret dot Docker username. Okay, slash. What do we call this? We can call this a Python server, and we'll give it a version. I'll say version 1. So that's gonna be the tag. So yeah. The next thing I want to do is that's pretty much it. But I'll just add some few things. Name, image, digest. I don't have to add this. You know what? I'll just leave this part. I wanted to have the digest and logging out of the Docker Hub. Yeah, I'll just do it. Digest. Give it ID. Image underscore digest. Run. Let's echo. What do we echo? Digest equal double braces. The steps. Outputs. Dot digest. And yeah, what else? Let's just add one more thing on the list. Name. Okay, what do we want to do? Log out. log out from Docker hub. So we'll run this and say Docker logout. And that's it. We're done with the GitHub action. So this is going to be our workflow. We can see the steps: check out code, set up the Docker engine, log into Docker Hub with your credentials. Then the next thing is you build and you push it into the Docker Hub. Then you want to log out. That's it. So, and how do we do that? So we have to manually create the repo first. So I'm gonna go to GitHub here. Okay. So I will add a repo, new repository. I'll call it Python web server. Yes. So I make it public. Then I say create. Okay. So these are the commands in case you forget. These are the commands to initialize, add all the files, commit, setting your branch into the main, and adding the remote git remote hard. Then you do the push finally. So I'm gonna start with git init, git add, adding everything. Okay, so I'm gonna do git commit, no, small caps, first commit. Okay, so then I'll do git push. Alrighty, so now everything has been pushed. All the things I have here has been pushed into my repo with the GitHub action. So let's check it out to see if everything works fine. This is it. I'm sure this should likely fail. Because, okay, we'll see. The actions. Okay, it seems our actions is not working. So we can see now that there's no action here. So probably it seems our docker-publish.yaml is not nested properly. So I'm gonna go back to my so let's check it out. So where is it staying? Wait, oh, so we can see that docker-publish is in this Python-web server. It's contained inside it. It should be inside the GitHub /workflows. So I will move this to the workflows, move. So now it's nested properly. Okay, so I'm gonna do git add, git commit, git push. Okay, so hopefully this should be good. I will open this again, refresh it. Now we see this dot shows pending. Let's check the job out. Action, click on action. This is the first commit. Now we can see the error here. So we don't have the username and the password. So how can he even log into a Docker Hub? So the first thing we want to do is click on settings. On the left pane, you have your secrets and variables. Click on action. Then click on new repository secret. Click on it. Then here you want to make sure you have the way you defined it in the docker.publish-publish.yaml file. So I'm going to start with the Docker username. The first thing I'm going to put in is my username. Then I add. Then the second is new repository. Then the password. And I include my password in here. Add. So with this, everything should be fine. I will go back to the actions. Here it is. Then I can rerun all jobs, rerun. Let's see if it's gonna log in successfully this time. I click on it, it's starting. Okay, all right, let's see if it's gonna log in. So this is the stage. Oh, so he's been able to log in. Now he's doing the build. Doing all the build is pushing. Wow, everything is good. So you can see how fast this is. You don't have to go to Jenkins to build the pipeline. You know, that will take a lot of time, installing all the plugins, setting all the variables, you know, but with GitHub native, using this it makes a whole lot of sense and it's faster. So I can go back to my VS Code. So we can see this is done now. So if I check on my my repo, this is my repo. Now I see the Python server here a minute ago. So if I click on it, then I can see the tag version 1. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is go back to the VS Code. I will clean this up. All right, so we want to do we want to use Helm to package the application. So that will be the next thing for us to do. Okay, so I'm gonna create a folder. I'll call it web server.charts. So within the folder web server.charts, I'm gonna have a new file called values.yaml. The next thing I'm gonna do is the chart.yaml. Then finally, I'll have another folder called templates. So in this template folder, I'm gonna have my deployment.yaml. I'm gonna have my my service.yaml. I'm gonna have my ingress because I'm using Nginx ingress controller. So ingress.yaml. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is my values. No, I want to do my chart first. So I already have a chart written out, just simple chart. So it's version 2. I call it a web server. Description is a Helm chart for deploying a Python web server with Nginx ingress. We'll give it a version. So the next one is the values. Okay, my values. I'll just increase this. Okay, so my image is here. What was the name again? Because you gotta be careful. This is the name, Python server, and it's a version 1, v1. So I copy that, go back to my VS Code. Okay, v1, yeah. So I go back to my deployment. It's just gonna be a simple manifest file. Simple manifest file. Okay, so it's the kind is a deployment. I have all the metadata, then the labels. The labels has to be the same with what you have in your service, so they're able to match and locate each other. Then the container is 8,000. Okay, I have my image in the values.yaml. So this is the image with the tag, and the next thing I want to do is my service. So I'll just do a quick copy and paste it in here. Okay, so this is the label, the app dots. It has to be the same with what you have in your deployment. And so the next thing I want to do is my ingress. Okay, we're using the ingress class name Nginx. Setting all the path, the prefix, the service has to be the service that you define in your service.yaml. The name. So I think that's about it. So we have values, we have the YAML, we have the service, we have the ingress, the deployment. So everything looks good right now. So the next thing is to deploy this into the cluster. But before that, I need to check which of my cluster is running. So I use kubectx. So I have Minikube running. I have a Docker desktop, and then my AWS. But right now you can see the one on yellow is Minikube. So I'm gonna say Helm install. I'll give it a name, web server /. Where we're gonna get it in the directory web server.chart. That's where we have all our files. Then I say enter. It's deployed. Everything looks good. It's on the default namespace. And if I do kubectl get pods, oh, now we see image pull back off. So we need to check what could be the problem. Do we have the right image defined in here? Python server. So if you have there is an error pulling the image here. So after describing, if you check it out and you have this unknown, no matching manifest for Linux, ARM64 V8 in the manifest list entries, you might have to go back to your docker-publish and include a platform in here. So under tags, you want to add a platform, platforms. Okay, in the platform, I'll have Linux / because I'm using a Mac OS, AMD, Linux, ARM64. Okay, so I'm going to push this again. GitHub, git commit, git push. Okay, so let's see. Action. Oh, it's already done 21 seconds ago. Okay, so let's go back to the VS Code. I'm going to do Helm uninstall. Okay, I'm gonna install. Okay, let's do kubectl report. Now it's running. So you gotta be careful, well, the type of machine you're using, the platforms, you know, because if you don't have the platform defined, then the build will not be okay for your type of machine. So once I added this platform, everything now works fine. So you can see the pod is working. I could just do Control L, kubectl, get deployment. So we have 1 out of 1 ready, 1 up to date, then 1 available. So kubectl get so everything looks good, and want to see if the application is working on the browser now using the Kubernetes. And you remember that when we were setting up the ingress, we defined HTTP as where's the ingress? Okay, we said I'm just gonna put this on the side. So we said the host is gonna be example.com. So I want to see where so this host here, we said .value.ingress.host. So which is this? So it's gonna be using example.com to be on the internet. That will be the host name. So I will do open the browser, type example.com. It's not reachable. Why is it not reachable? So we have to go back to the VS Code. From here, since we're using Minikube, you want to make sure that the tunnel is working. So the tunnel successfully started. So I go back to the browser. Advance, proceed. Now we can see hello world. So this is on our Kubernetes cluster. So if you want to add certificate to make this domain secure, you could go ahead and do that. But right now we're not doing that. We just want to demonstrate how how you can start a simple Python web server and containerize it and run it on a Kubernetes cluster. So, and I think that's everything right now. Thank you for watching. If you have a question, you can always put it in the comment section, and I will try as much as possible to answer them. Thank you.